Why was I born into this family? Why is this happening to me? Why me?
When most people think of God, they probably think of the one that is perfect and sits up high, judging humanity. But what if God were lost and imprisoned into a box called a human body that caught amnesia to forget that it was God? When all the pieces of a puzzle are dismembered and scattered, what is the formula to put Humpty Dumpty back together again after a great fall? To know thyself and become aware that it is God having a human experience through all of the senses, mainly the head. That is how we remember.
Greetings to all of our live streamers. Just a quick skit to demonstrate the human experience and how we can forget our divinity and how we can remember it. Just as we are all assembled in this room, or we're members of a meetup group, members means to be together, to be unified. So when something is membered, it is whole. It is parts coming together as one. But when things are dismembered, such as when we go home to wherever we're going after this meeting, then we will be dismembered, just as if something is disassembled like the legs of this table. So in order to become whole again, we must remember who we are so that all of the pieces come back together. Welcome to Ori Finding Your Purpose.
Aloha, aloha, aloha. Good afternoon to everybody. Good afternoon to our live streamers. Good afternoon to everybody that's here. As usual, let's pay our libations and let's pay respects to our ancestors. Those of you that are online are more than welcome to also stand up to pay your respects to the ancestors and to our loved ones and anyone and anybody that came before us. So, moyu bachada, moyu bakoda, moyu bebara ono, omi tuto ile tuto wo tuto ma tuto ile tuto la roba la wei koko arikuba bawa, la bendición del ofin dolorum dolor domare, hayai edum mokwe dum. With the blessings of Almighty, with the blessings of the Most High, with the blessing of Spirit, with the blessings of our ancestors, with the blessings of all our spirit guides, guardian angels, with the blessing of all that guides us, with the blessings of all that protects us. We're asking for the divine guidance of our spirit guides. We're asking for the divine guidance of the Creator, whoever we call the Creator, whoever we feel connected to spiritually, because we're all interconnected. We are all one at the end of the day, and we all represent an above energy that's trying to each day enlighten our path so that we are able to do it better and that we can get closer to the divine energy. May our ancestors, our spirit guides, and all that have made it possible for us to be here, for us to breathe, for us to be alive, for us to be connected, may they always be with us. May we honor them each day of our existence to the best of our abilities by profounding our knowledge, by having a greater awareness of who we are so that we can better represent.
Just a little disclaimer for anyone. Most of the people here, you are familiar with the Orisha tradition. For anyone that is live streaming and you're not familiar with Espiritismo, Follow, or the Orisha tradition, this class is sort of an eclectic class. It is for what we would call an Aleyo, which is someone who is not in Orisha tradition or someone who is non-initiated. So we're going to do it a little eclectic today, and we are going to discuss Yoruba concepts that go all the way back into Nigeria and further, and we will also make it more practical so that even if this is not your path, the Orisha path or Spiritismo path, you can still use these practical techniques in order to get in touch with your own inner self, because we all have a head. And we all know, just as I put on one of my videos on Friday, we all know that we have organs in our bodies. They have organ donors, they have heart transplant donors, but if something happens to our head, that's it. The head is the most important part of our body. The head is where we experience our senses. If we have spiritual gifts, everything that we take in is usually from the head. Our eyes are on our head, which we see with. Our third eye is on our head, which we have clairvoyance with. Our ears are on our head, in which we have clairaudience. And then we have our taste, our sense of taste. We take things in through our head. We consume things through our subconscious in our head. We smell things through our head. So everything processes from there. Even if you are clairsentient, where you have the sense of spiritual touch, everything is processed through the brain. And the nervous system sends messages up to the brain, from the brain, in a constant flow. So this is the most important part of the body. And also I'd like to add, if you are a bit of a skeptic, we are going to be talking about concepts such as reincarnation, which is a principle if you are an Orisha practitioner. In Yoruba cosmology, reincarnation is called Atunwa. If you ever notice some of the Yoruba names, they will have something like Yeye Tunde, Baba Tunde. Yeye Tunde would mean mother returns. Baba Tunde means father returns. So it is a concept that is not just an Eastern thought. It goes all the way back into the Kemetic sciences. So we will be discussing reincarnation and your incarnations in order to better explain Ori and your purpose and why you are here.
Let's get a little into what Ori is. We want to know and understand the concept of Ori. For those of us that have been or have some knowledge of the Yoruba practice, the Lukumi tradition, the diaspora, we hear a lot about Ori, or Eleda, Orinu. So what's Ori?
Ori, as I've come to embrace it, is that which comes together with our head that contains the code of our destiny.
Okay. That which what now?
Contains the code of our destiny. So that together with our head has the package of what our life or future has a potential to be.
True. In retrospect, very much so. So, we have what's called Ori, right? And Ori is a Yoruba term that represents to know, saber, to know, el saber, okay? It's also the term that means distinguir, so to distinguish. Can't find my right marker for this board today. It was playing with me. To distinguish. It also means ver, to know, to see, and to perceive, percibir, perceive. Okay, and O es un pronombre personal, it's a personal pronoun, which means you, tú. You got that part? You stand out of the way so people are trying to see.
It would be easier if I was a lefty than a lefty.
So, that being said, and re is also a main term in the word oricha. Okay, oricha, re, is a main term for that. So basically, it would be the capacity to perceive, the capacity to see, the capacity to be able to know, to distinguish. the human capacity for one to be able to perceive things, to distinguish things, to be able to interpret things is part of Ori, okay? To perceive things in our ambience, in our environment, to perceive things in our surroundings, to perceive our everything that we can possibly think of and beyond is part of Ori. But when is it that this concept is introduced to us? It's what's most important in this class that we're teaching today. It's not just about understanding what is Ori, it's also about understanding how do we come in contact with Ori, what it represents, and how we are all, whether we practice Yoruba faith or not, whether we are into the Lukumi diaspora or not, whether we're Christians or whether we're Catholics or whichever denomination, we are all in every way possible connected to Ori. Because Ori is an energy, is a divinity, is an extension of whoever you and I believe created Earth, whoever you and I believe is a creator, whether I call it Olofin and Nsambi, and whether we call it, whether we call it Olodum, Olodumare, Allah, Jehovah, whomever, Ori is the connection to that divinity, to that energy, to that Most High, to the Creator. Okay? Let's just leave a little glimpse. So before we go on, everybody here, we all know each other. And everybody knows because most of you belong religiously to this home, but many of the individuals that are online does not know you and does not know us. So therefore, we have to properly introduce each other so that people that are seeing us for the first time.
Once again, I am Adunola. That name came to me from my Sode godfather. A lot of you know that in my experience in Lukumi, traditional Ifa, I've had some bumps and bruises there, and I've had some unscrupulous elders. But one elder that I hardly talk about is one by the name of Chief Baba Femi Ifayemi, who gave me the name Adunola, which means the sweetness of wealth. And wealth is not just financial, but it can be wealth of knowledge and different things such as that. And the workbook that I created for this class is actually dedicated to him. And during my studies with him, I learned a lot about Ori and a concept called the Iyami, or the mothers, the divine ancestral mothers who we worked with a lot in. When I received, well, he did not give me Kofa, but when I received Sode, I began to work with my own Ori and my own ancestral mother lineage. So today I come to you from a line of hoodoo workers and healers. They did not call it that, of course. They would say they were Bible magicians. I come from that line. I was disconnected for a while from that spirituality because of family and different reasons. But slowly but surely I have reconnected. And as I have reconnected, I've also reconnected with the head and the concepts and studies that I used to study that I'm sharing here today and that we are sharing here today. But I'm coming more from an Aleyo perspective, whether as Afimaye is coming from an initiate perspective.
And welcome again. My name is Afimaye Larraga. I am a spiritualist, a healer, a Lukumi priest, someone that has been involved in the spiritual tradition of the Lukumi and also the practice of Espiritismo, which is spirituality, the seance, mediumship, the ability to be able to communicate with our spirit guides and our ancestors. And this has been part of my history since before I was conceived, practically. And if we further we get into the concept of Ori, the more that will be, proven that this is something that has been already predestined. So, but consciously, I was born into the spirituality. I was born into Lukumi tradition and Espiritismo, and it has been my way of life my whole entire life. So my perspective of it comes from being in the nest of elders, growing up, watching them, interacting with them, learning from them. It has been my whole entire life experience, and that's basically where I created this connection with spirituality. It's been part of me forever and a day. So, in the beginning, and I kind of went a little ahead myself with the explanation of Ori. In the beginning, everything comes from darkness. If we listen or even heard any concepts of the Bible, the beginning. And the beginning for us in the Lukumi, that's where I'm going to talk about 2 or 3 different things at the same time. For those of us that are ordained can make certain associations and associate stuff without going too deep, because there are many layers in the room. You know, in the beginning, you know, the Bible says in the beginning there was darkness and yada, yada, yada. You've read that. I know you know that. Many of you probably do as well. So, and then God said, let there be light. Correct? Let there be light is Eyobe. Okay? Let there be light is Eyobe. That's the introduction of light into the world. And why? Because in order for Olofin, Olorum, Olodumare, the Most High, God, whoever we believe God to be. And I always repeat that like a broken record, because not all of us in here, in this room, yes, but not all of us outside of this room believe that, you know, in one particular God. One God, or it can be somebody else's God. So, you know, when Olofin decided to be light and then Eyobe was born there, it's basically based on the concept of Ori. Ori is the extension of the Creator on earth. It's the extension of God on earth. And who is God, or what is God extension? Cass.
That's consciousness.
Literally. Literally, only and only. We are the extension of Olofin. We are the extension of God. And therefore, it is said, it is taught in Yoruba that Ori is before our spirit guides, is before our, you know, so-called our guardian angel. It came before because there's many apatakis, or there's many stories, you know, that are said differently, but it all alludes to the fact that we chose our path before we even were conceived. This is something that comes to before we were even born, before our parents even got together. You know, we were a light out there somewhere, and this contract, we picked it before we came into our existence, and that is Ori, and Ori lives in our head. Which is why, for those of us that know a little about the Lukumi and Yoruba tradition, we do everything where we do it. And that's as far as I can say about it. We do everything where it gets done, you know, in the actual ceremonial aspect of our tradition. Want to add?
Definitely. To further explain from an eclectic perspective, in the beginning, the Creator, there was nothing but the Creator, nothing outside of that. And being up there in eternity, maybe the Creator got bored. Let's consider this entertainment if no one believes it either, by the way. But maybe the Creator got bored. Maybe the Creator wanted to experience itself because there was nothing outside of itself. And imagine me trying to put on some preschool girl pants. They're not going to fit me. I'm too big to fit in those preschool pants. Meaning God is too big to even fit on this planet. Or the concept of the Creator or source or creation, whether you believe it's anthropomorphic, feminine, or masculine, whatever that energy is, it's so big. It cannot be contained in one little thing. So what was the Creator's concept? To break itself into pieces. Make many pieces of itself. Say if I have a big piece of Play-Doh and it's so big it can't fit, so what I do is I take pieces, take pieces, take pieces, take pieces. And once I dismember, remember we talked about remember, if I dismember those pieces of myself, in order to experience myself, I have to forget that I am. I have to forget that I am God. So that's where we come into play. If you remember in the Guides and Goals class, we talked about the ladder. We talked about humanity being at the bottom of the ladder in elevation. Then our ancestors, our guides, the Orisha, the Orunmile, and then the Creator, the CEO, whatever you want to call him, her, or it. So in order for it for it to remember itself, it had to kind of like Humpty Dumpty have a great fall and forget. And that's why we're here. In order for it to know goodness, the goodness that it is, it has to know the badness that it is as well. Because we also talked about, just as you have a quarter, it has the head and the tail. It has the light and the dark, the divine dichotomy. So in order for it to experience itself, it had to forget, but the thing is, it never disconnected. And just as the Creator is the head, remember we talked about the nervous system, everything is processed through the head. In order for the Creator to experience itself, it had to give us a head, because we are created in His image. Our ancestors, guides, whatever it is, even animals have a head. Everything has a head. That is our connection. If you look, say, for instance, at an octopus, it has a big head, but it has tentacles. Because some people, they're like, oh, God, there's so many people on this planet, God's not going to hear my prayers. But we have to remember that just as the octopus has tentacles, imagine an octopus having multiple tentacles that you can't even count them. That is our direct connection to the divine Godhead, the whole head, which we come from at the top of the ladder. And that is why we are never separate from that, because we are all things that is. We are the great I am, having a human experience as Magda, as Danielle, as Cindy, as Vilma. We are that. So, in order for it to love itself and enjoy itself, how can it punish itself forever? That's like if I have a toe that's aching, I'm not going to cut my toe off because it's bad. That would be hurting myself, right? So if God just punishes us and condemns us forever, then what is the purpose when, say for instance, if you go to a mechanic shop and your car breaks down, are you going to be mad at the car, or are you going to be mad at the manufacturer, the mechanic? So for the Creator to punish us and condemn us forever and ever and ever and ever, it would have to condemn itself. That is why we speak of what I do to you, I do to me, because we all are that piece. We're all from a big pot of clay together, and that is why we are here. And that connection is through our head. In Yoruba cosmology, they say that your Ori comes before you, even before the Orisha. Your Ori helps you. They say if you want money, ask Ori. If you want children, ask Ori. If you want whatever it is that you want, you go to your Ori first, because no Orisha, no spirit can bless you without the consent of your Ori. I'm looking for an empty cup or a basket. Let's pretend like this is a cup. A lot of us, we do work. We do candle work. We do manifestation work. We do spell work. But it's like our cup is turned over like that. So the spirits can't give us anything if the cup is turned upside down. The cup has to be turned up. And everything we receive it through the head. We receive it through a thought. We receive it through an idea. We receive it through the words we speak. And also we can push it away by the words we speak. Doubt turns the cup or the basket upside down, whereas faith turns it back up. And that is how we collect the rain waters from heaven, or the divine ideas, the dreams, the messages from spirit. Because when they whisper to you, they're whispering in your ear. Either you see the spirit or this and that. Everything is processed through the head. That is how everything is received, and everything else comes down through that. Yes, every part of the body is important, just as we are important at the bottom of the ladder in the hierarchy of spirit. But everything is, as we elevate up the blessings or the array, it flows back down like oil. Just like in Psalm 23, it says, "Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over." The oil goes to the head first. So if the cup is like this, the oil can't run over. We can't receive whatever it is that we are going for, whatever goal we're trying to attain. So that's one example of Ori and why we're here. So therefore, if God or the Creator wants to experience itself, because remember, in Yoruba cosmology, Olodumare, owner of the Odu, of the rainbow, is both male and female. That does not mean it's a hermaphrodite. That means it is both male and female energy. So in order to disassemble itself, it has to be female, it has to be male. It has to be dark, it has to be light. So sometimes it comes as a woman, sometimes it comes as a man. And just as the Creator is both, we have our feminine and our masculine side. Sometimes we come as a woman, sometimes we come as a man, and we will get into that in just a minute.
Yes. So a little concepts here to understand the Yoruba language and to understand the concept of Ori. Ori, I explained, is basically our connection, our connection to God. We are the extended aspect of God. We are God in a different way. We are the other side of God. We are God on earth because God, as Anola said, his energy is so mighty and so great that he wouldn't fit in this side of the realm. So we represent God, and that connection is through Ori. So Ori, as I said, O, which means you, and Ri, which means to see, to perceive, is our ability to perceive the world, the environment, us, everything that we are connected to, everything we come in contact with. Okay? Another concept I want to introduce is Olubobo Diribo. Okay, this word over here, second one. Now, for Mada and Ginger, okay, and future godchildren to be, because some of you are already in the hot seat for ordination, start learning these things anyway, okay? Iworimeji, which is also in, Worimeji is Ifa, but in Yoruba, in the diaspora, in the Dilogun is Ohwanimeji, okay? That particular sign speaks about the importance of Ori and speaks about how we would not be able to fulfill our purpose without Olubobo Diribo. Now, you would think that Olubobo Diribo is another deity, another energy, another guide, another Orisha, or what have you, but it's actually not that. How is it that we, in our tradition, are able to cleanse away things that should not be in our path? How do we cleanse it away? Through what? Ebo, right? Now, Ebo is vital. Ebo, cleansing, is vital to our survival in our tradition. But Ebo does not work. Ebo does not work. Ebo would not function without Olubobo Diribo. And what is that to be? Olubobo Diribo is basically the father of the Ebos. And you know who the father of the Ebo is? The father of all Ebos that we do. The father of everything that we do to cleanse things out of our way. What is it? La boca. Mouth. Because if we don't speak, if we don't put it, the prayers, the things that we pray, whether it's the Babalao or the Oriate who's performing the cleansing, the Ebo for us, or whether we are assigned an Ebo that we can actually do ourselves, you know, if we don't speak it, okay, then the message doesn't elevate. You know, the magic gets missed. So Olubobo Diribo is basically the father of all the Ebos, and the father of all the Ebos is La Boca, the mouth, because in our tongue, that's why we always hear that in our tongue we have Ache, we have power in our tongue. There's power in our tongue. There's Ache in our tongue, and that Ache, that ability to speak and cleanse or pray over something, or you know, heal somebody or cleanse somebody, before we have, you know, the rooster or the chicken or the flowers or the coconut or whatever ingredients that we need, before that has any kind of effect in what we do, our mouth is what pushes that energy out. Our prayer is what pushes that energy out. So how the heck does that tie to Ori? It's tied to Ori because, you know, number one, like I said, Ohwani talks about the importance of Ori and our ability to speak, to cleanse. But it also, if you listen to what was said already, you know, if we do a demonstration again with the boom, boom, boom. Boom. No. If we have it open, that means that the blessings are what? What did you say, my love?
Received. Pretty much the cup is running over.
And if it's turned around upside down, what happens?
What is this one? Osobo.
Osobo.
What is this? Ire.
Osobo. And how we are in Osobo when we don't watch. what Oluwabotiribo says, because we know everything we do has a cause and an effect. That's obvious. You don't need to come to class to get taught that everything in life has a cause and an effect.
Side note, for you who do not know what Osobo is, Osobo would mean like misfortune or imbalance. Ire would mean divine balance or good fortune.
That's right. So, in order for anything to happen, good or bad, we first speak it. We say happy birthday, we say have a good day, have a blessing, I wish you get well. Or we say, God, I can't stand her. Oh my God, that's why she's so like that. That's why she probably got into a car accident. So it is our mouth. It is our mouth that puts us in Ire or in Osobo. But it is our mouth that keeps that cup open, that keeps that connection open, that keeps our ability to be able to keep receiving the blessings from the Most High. Or it is our mouth that puts us further away and further away and further away from the divine. It does not set us away from Ori, because Ori is an energy. Ori is our destiny. Ori is what is an energy, an extension of the Most High that lives in us, through us, is us. But we step away from our protective energies if we are not in the good standing of Oluwabotiribo. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So we also have Orinu. And basically Orinu is the inner self. Okay. Orinu is basically the inner self. Okay. Because we said Ori in its literal translation means head, but Orinu is our inner head. It's our inner head. Represents the inner self. Also inner head. That which is responsible for one's personalities, real essence of being, that's Orinu, our inner self. Also referred to as the personality soul. It guides and helps a person before we are even born. Orinu.
Just another side note that I wanted to finish before we get out of this section of the teaching. As I was talking about, how can God hear me? How can the spirits hear me? Okay, imagine like all of these hairs, all of these braids on my head. Imagine them being just a multiplicity of just divine connection. Just as God or the Creator is the divine head, just like we speak of the ladder, as each of these, you're like a strand of hair on the head of the Creator. So just as what we think processes down through the nervous system, when you think a thought, it immediately goes up. That's why spirits, they can tell you what you think. The Creator can tell you what you think because it's experiencing itself through you. Imagine if you're going deep sea diving or you're going to see sharks and you're in a cage. Imagine that shark cage being your body. So you're deep, no matter how deep down you go down the ladder, always at the top of the surface in the boat is a connection to oxygen, to air, and that is what we are. So when we're not in our bodies, imagine like the electricity being turned off here. There's no light coming in. So I know, right? Let's snap our fingers on that. But when we pass away, where does that energy go? It's our electricity. So when we pass away, the electricity bill is out. We're pretty much going back. But where do we go? Whatever that thing is that we are, that's where it goes back to. It goes back to divine source, or it goes to the realm of the ancestors, because it has to steadily go up. It doesn't just go straight back up. It has to go from the bottom level, the base level, to floor one, which would be like the ancestral level. So whenever you're feeling disconnected from the Creator, remember you're like a strand of hair on the head of the Creator. So when you think something, it immediately goes in. But guess what? This is our divine mailbox too. Remember how we talk about you know, the basket or the cup being open, this is the divine mailbox. And we, spirits communicate through telepathic thought. So all you have to do is think a thought and it's gonna vibrate back up. That's why they say you're attracting what you vibrate, because what you're sending out and what you're thinking and speaking is gonna vibrate back up. And that is how everything flows in a divine infinite connection in a never-ending cycle.
Actually, body is also consciousness. It's also consciousness. Okay? Ipaco. It's said to be the balance between the heart and the head and the heart. Ipaco. Okay, the balance between the head and the heart. Now, Danger, Amanda, Vilma, forgot you were in the room. You were ordained too. What also is Ipaco? Ginger? No? Vilma? No?
Feelings?
No. Ipaco. Hecho un Ipaco. Known in the diaspora. Okay? In Yoruba tradition is Ipaco. Hecho un Ipaco is back here.
Isn't that the
Okay.
past?
Hecho un Ipaco. Huh?
Isn't that the seed of the soul?
It's also Hecho. Okay? Because Hecho, which we'll get into in a minute, we'll talk about Hecho, is the one that we know Eshu in the form how it's explained to us in the diaspora. Eshu, the one who's outside, because Alec was inside our home, and Eshu is the one outside. But Eshu is both good and bad. Eshu's work is not about creating havoc in our lives, as many of us do seem to believe, because every time we refer to Eshu, we refer to Eshu in a negative way, because, oh my God, I hope Eshu does not get in my pathway, you know, so we refer to Eshu to be, you know, that Mercury energy, you know, in a different kind of way. But really, Eshu's job is to make sure that we're walking our line. Eshu's job is to really make sure that that which we have been ordained and blessed to do, that we actually do it in good standing, and that we actually are able to prove to ourselves that we deserve what we want, that we deserve what we claim we need, okay? Because not all that we want, we need. Not all that we want, we need. Did anybody get that? Not all that we want, we need. So Eshu makes sure that each time we get closer to something and it doesn't go down, and we get all frustrated and we get all bent out of shape and we curse everything under the book and everything, you know, Eshu is basically saying, you're not ready. You're not ready for that what you want. You're not ready for this. You're not ready for that. And Eshu is also the unconscious. That's why Eshu, you know, Hecho un Ipaco, Eshu, nobody grabs that, you know. Nobody grabs that each time we say Hecho un Ipaco, we're talking about Eshu. Literally. The one that guides us in places that we don't see, because we don't have eyes behind our head. So he is the unconscious as well. Okay? The unconscious energy that keeps us conscious as we move forward. That's my definition of Eshu, actually. Can't forget that one. I'm gonna mean that. Okay?
Can you just repeat it?
What was that?
Can you just repeat it so I can write it down?
Anybody heard me?
The unconscious
That
energy.
keeps us conscious.
He's the unconscious energy that keeps our conscious moving forward.
As we move forward, it's the one that keeps us conscious as we move forward. Embody the higher self. The higher self. Forgot my grammar here. Keep going. The higher self. Embody. And many of us know what Iwapele is, right? Good character. Iwapele, good character.
So all these things, and this is very limited and much more, because we don't want to make the whole class about a lecture, but all these have much more makes up Ori, is part of Ori. Now, a disclaimer for those of us that are here and know me, and those that are online that know me and don't know me. The concept of Ori is not something that, for whatever reason, unknown to me, did not reach Cuba. You know, it is known now. It's talked more about now, especially, you know, since the 80s, late 80s. You know, this is something that came really into existence in Cuba after the 80s, late 80s. But it wasn't spoken about. This is not something that, for whatever reason, it wasn't spoken about. In Brazil, it did get to Brazil. And of course, in Africa, you know, it's something. It's not new concept. It's not new age stuff. It's not something that, you know, people keep invent, because there are a lot of inventions, but this is not an invention. Ori is something, and a divinity and energy is a concept that actually has been well known about in Africa and, you know, in Brazil for whatever reason. I don't know why. I would be lying if I said I knew. It didn't reach Cuba until the late 80s or so, and now is basically more studied, you know, and more, you know, spoken about, you know, et cetera, et cetera. But definitely, it's something that we need to know, because in understanding Ori, we can understand what our purpose is and what we do. And when we check the maraca, when we ring that bell, and it also helps us that are, you know, an actual practitioner of the faith, it helps ties loose ends. It helps ties loose ends energetically. Iwapale is good character, and good character is what makes Ori's perfect purpose divine. Iwapale, good character. You'll be writing this down, send me a copy so I can read my own stuff. Iwapale, good character, okay, is what makes Ori's purpose divine. Okay?
And just as Afimaye was speaking about Eshu Nipakuo, Eshu is they call him Okurin Orita, the man of the crossroads. So if you know anything about the nervous system and how it works, it's connected to the spinal column right there, and it sends messages from the brain down to the rest of the body. That is why they call Eshu the divine mailman. If our head is the mailbox, Eshu is the divine mailman. And just as the nervous system, it sends messages back up to the head. He sends our thoughts and our messages back up to the creator and the spirits, and he communicates them throughout. That's why it's called Eshu Nipakuo. And as far as some people may say, oh, I just want to go straight to God and talk to God. Yes, that's fine. Or I just want to talk to Orisha and skip my ancestors. Well, we have to think about it, as I said in the Guides and Goals class, when a plane is high in the air, like the creator is, say for instance, if you want to consider high in the air, it's within you. From a vantage point, if it has no experience of what hot is, what envy is, what hate is, what cold is, what hungry is, then it is not further connected from us, but it's higher up. Then we have the Orunmole. They know our destiny in all of our incarnations, so they can see it from that vantage point. And the Orisha, they can understand the human experience because we have a lot of their characteristics. Say for instance, the ego of Shango, the so-called vanity of Oshun, or her love for fine things, etc., etc. But lower down on the level, like when you get ready to land on a plane, you can see the ground more clearly. You can see the rooftops, you can see the details, which are our ancestors. They're closer to the ground level. And then on the ground level, that's us, and that's the animal and plant kingdom. So everything is connected. And Eshu, he goes all the way to the top to deliver the messages, and he comes back down to the bottom to get our messages, collect them, and bring them back up. And that happens through here, through the central nervous system. That is why he is an important part mentioned within Ori.
Elders also used to say, I'm just remembering now, I'm in a good mood to share. Elders always used to always say that Eshu Nipakuo is the lie detector. The lie detector. Why is it a lie detector? They ain't explain it like that. I'm explaining it like that. I'm the one who's calling it the lie detector, but that's what it did. Eshu Nipakuo is the lie detector. Why?
Because everything is in our head, like our thoughts and everything, and takes the messages up to The divine.
In a way,
Yes.
but it's a lie detector. Why? Because when we get our head blessings or head rogations, okay, and that's no secret. I can talk about head rogations, and that class is coming up. Make sure to sign up. It's when we cast obi to our leda, to our ori. We give an obi to our leda. We give obi to Echunipako. Because Echunipako really knows our truth. Echunipako really knows what's going to happen. Okay? When, so we want to say it? Okay, yeah, I'll say it. When we have our head blessings, our head rogations, okay, basically it's just to appease our energy in our elida, our head, okay, our, guardian angel, whether or not we are ordained, is to appease the energy, our guardian angel's energy, okay? So it'll accept it, right? But when Echunipako says no, something is up, something is wrong. Yeah, we can ask if we need more efum, or if we need more of this, or we need more of that. But it's a clear indication that when we're sitting there receiving that blessing, there's something that's not balanced, there's something that's not communicating with our Eleda and our Echunipako, our unconscious. Okay, something is not balancing, something is not communicating, something is not vibing there, and in order to bring it to balance, we need to, ask or do whatever it is that needs to do. I was going to say something else, well, I'll reserve that for later. Later. Okay, so we got this here. No. Okay. And also, before I forget, I wrote in my notes to ask you all, why if Ori means that we are an extension of God, and we are. If Ori means that we are an extension of God, and Ori, based on its description, would mean that God lives in our head, basically, because we are an extension of the divine. If God lives in our head, why would, such a divine, such a great divine, such a divine, great energy, put on the floor is what, would live in our head? Why would such a great energy be in our head? Why would such a great, as I wrote in my notes to share with you, why would such an omnipotent energy reside in such a confused and filled with ups and downs and doubts and insecurities and drama and filled with so much contamination as our head is? Why would such a divine energy, the creator of it all, always want to overextend himself to live in our Elida? And basically, it's not even difficult to figure it out. It's not so nothing out of the ordinary other than what Anoa had already explained. The fact that in order for the Most High to really know himself, itself, herself, whatever it is to us, it needed an extension of it to know the opposite side, to know the other side of what he himself created, to know the good and appreciate the bad, because the bad makes the good and the good makes the bad. They go hand in hand, literally. That's that yin and that yang. You could cook a meal, but trust me, if it's missing some salt, and it's what's it called when it was not salty enough? It's when it's bland. It don't taste good. So in order for the Creator to really appreciate himself, itself, and know the goodness of what it created, it needed us. It needed us. And that's why we are an extension of it. Okay? Passing the baton over.
Okay, this is where we're going to talk about the concept of Atumwa, or reincarnation, which is an ancient concept, because the Yoruba cosmology, it did not just start in southwestern Nigeria. It actually it flowed to southwestern Nigeria to more ancient concepts, such as back to ancient Kemet, because over time they migrated west and then brought the concept to, through the diaspora during slavery, and that's what we have here today. So we're going to quickly go through Atumwa and how the Ori is related to that. As Afimai was speaking of the Ori Inu, our inner self, it's the part of ourself that doesn't die. So in order to illustrate my point in layman's terms, I'm going to use actors and actresses as my metaphors today. This is Angela Bassett. She is an actress. No matter what character she plays, at the end of the day, when she goes back home, she's still Angela Bassett when she leaves the studio. So, in this movie, she played Tina Turner. In this movie, the Black Panther, she played the Black Panther's mother. I can't remember her name right now at the top. In this one, she played Malcolm X's wife, Betty Shabazz. Now, keep in mind, if she would have died on this movie, she would have went back, after she died off of that set, she would have went back to being Angela Bassett when she gets home. If she would have passed away in this movie, she would have still went back home and been Angela Bassett. Say, for instance, like on a soap opera, when the character dies off, they're not really dead. They're going to go back home and then they go find a new job. So this is the concept of Ori Inu. This is you. These are the characters you play throughout your lifetime. So say, for instance, my Ori Inu would be me. It's like when I'm not playing the actor part, when I'm not Adunola or my birth name Tyranny, then I go back to being this. So right now we're all sitting here, we have a name. All we're doing, we're just characters. And then when we pass away, we don't really pass away. We just kind of go back home until the next script gets written for us. So it's that type of concept. Take, for instance, I was trying to pick actors. I wasn't trying to be racially biased or anything. I was trying to pick actors that have distinct characters, such as Eddie Murphy. On this movie, he was Rasputia, the sassy type of chick. In this movie, he was the nutty professor. In this movie, he's, what's his name? Coming to America, Akeem, Prince Akeem. So, he didn't die on any of these, but say, for instance, if he would have died off of any of these movies, he would have still went back home and been Eddie Murphy. He wouldn't be dead. He was just dead on that movie. So when we die, we're not really dead. We're just dead off that scene we were in. So in the concept of Ori Inu, in the cast of our characters of our life, this would represent Ori Inu. This is who you are after you shed. This is just like a suit bag. This is our shark cage. When we shed our shark cage, we go back to being that inner self. And this is the self that lasts throughout lifetimes, no matter if we come back as a woman, as a man. Because sometimes we come back as a woman, sometimes we come back as a man. Because in essence, our soul is really both. So that's why sometimes you'll see different people, they'll say, I don't feel like a man. I feel like a woman or something like that. Or I feel like it's like I have this woman's body, but I feel more masculine. That's because a lot of times that Ori Inu of that person came male most of the time. So they're used to that. And say, for instance, they may need to experience something. Say, for instance, if they were a male, just like in the book Journey of Souls talks about the psychologist, he talks about reincarnation. Say if that man raped a woman, he goes back to Ori Inu, he's with his spirit guides, he's with his ancestors, but he needs to come back to learn a lesson. His spirit guides may be like, this time we're going to cast you as a woman so you can see what it feels like to rape somebody. And even though he may not be comfortable, because he's used to playing mostly male roles, he's in this female body, he's like, but he's still getting to feel like what he did to victimize that person, because everything we do, it's like group participation. We always have to come back and experience what we do to somebody else. And then they have the concept of Egbe, which is our soul group, our group of soulmates, which are not always romantic. Sometimes, like we talked about in Guides and Goals, this is one flower. And in the middle of it, we could consider this the creator. And all the petals of it, that will be your soul group. Sometimes it could be your relative. Sometimes it could be your best friend. Sometimes it could be somebody you have static with. But the concept is to learn. Some of you reincarnate in the same lifetime. Some of them stay behind and they help you behind the scenes. They're like your casting agents, if you want to say something like that, your spirit guides. So that is the concept, and they're always speaking to your Ori Inu. Let me use another example too. Let me see. We'll talk about Ajala Mopin. And that is the Yoruba concept of we all have to go to Ajala Mopin, or that is what the Yorubas call it, in order to get our destiny. So Ori Nu is sitting in heaven or in the realm of the ancestors, but it's getting ready to reincarnate. It needs to choose a body, it needs to choose a race, it needs to choose parents, and it needs to choose the lessons it wants to learn. Because remember, Ori Nu is just a piece, it's the piece of God, which is ourself, that is experiencing itself, so they can elevate back up to itself, into divine nothingness or allness. So, Ajala Mopin is where we go. We call that the divine casting agency. When we're looking for the next movie we want to jump in, we're like an actor, we're an unemployed actor in heaven, and we're looking for our next scene so we can learn about ourselves, and we can learn about life, we can learn about people, we can learn lessons that we missed. If we did not complete anything, then we come back as a different character. That's why sometimes people come back and they suffer, because there's something they need to learn from that. And the suffering, which can be called Akun Legba, or the joy, say for instance, if you have a life like Obama or Beyonce or somebody like that, that would be the life that that person chose, or maybe possibly the karma they reap, or something that they did in order to get to that point. So Akun Legba is like, say for instance, I need to experience what it's like to suffer, so I choose to be born in an impoverished neighborhood to a single parent who works all the time, who's never there, etc., etc., etc. So that will be called Akun Legba, and that's spelled A-K-U-N-L-E-G-B-A. The next concept we have is Akun Leyan. Akun Leyan is the things about ourselves that we cannot change once we're cast. So once we're cast into a role in the human experience called an incarnation, we cannot change our race in that lifetime. We cannot change our gender in that lifetime. Well, now we can, but really we can't change that, what we were born with in that lifetime. We can't change the ancestry we were born through. We can't change our parents. The Akun Leyan is the concept of the things that we cannot change in a lifetime. Our culture, whatever background we came from. Akun Legba is the things that we chose to experience for our lessons, but we can change it. They say it's easier to change your destiny, Akun Legba, than it is to change your character, Akun Leyan, because certain things is just not interchangeable in a lifetime. You have to die and come back again to switch it up again. But remember, we chose it before we even got here. But we chose to forget, because if we remember, then what's the point of coming back down here? So we have to forget. And what helps us forget? Remember, as I walked in with this on, say for instance, if I'm born to an abusive parent, oh, you ain't gonna never be nothing. Oh, you can't have that. You don't deserve that. You're not a good kid. God is gonna punish you. God doesn't love you. You're going to hell. Nobody likes you. You're fat. You're ugly. You're black. You're poor. That is how we get the baggage, and the bag is leaking now because it has something in it. But all of these concepts, that's how we get that baggage on us, and that's how we forget even further who we are. So it's like we sink down deeper. So in order, and it makes us feel less membered, it makes us feel dismembered, it makes us feel unwhole. So what is wholeness? It's remembering that this is not really who we are. This character is not who we are. I could be a felon, or I could be a prostitute, I could be anything. That's my character I'm playing. But we talk about Iwapele, we talk about good character. Say for instance, this man, he plays his role to the T, he gets an Oscar. That would be Iwapele. Oh, he played that role, he got an Oscar. That would be good character. But an actor, they didn't really do so good in that play. That would kind of be more of a B-list, D-list actor. So our character represents, even if we choose to come here and suffer. Have you ever noticed, like in the movie Precious or something like that? She was suffering, and she just did it. And even though she was suffering, she was good at what she did. That is what good character is all about. It's about morality. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But it's about playing a role you chose to play with finesse. Like, if I'm going to be a homeless person, I'm going to be a finesse homeless person. I'm going to play that role. Because we have to imagine that the Creator, remember, it's experiencing itself through us. The Creator, our ancestors, our guides, it's like they're our audience watching us. When we think nobody's watching us, when nobody's watching our DMs, when the surveillance camera's on us, we still got an audience always watching us. We are always on stage. When we're asleep and when we're awake, we're always on stage playing that character. And Iwapele is the person that you are, even when you're behind the scenes. It's who you are when they see you. It's who you are when they don't see you. So that is what Iwapele is. Because even if no one sees what we do, somebody sees what we do. We're always on stage. Because remember, in the movie, the characters are so busy playing the character, they don't realize they're being watched. So that is what we're like. It's like we're in a fishbowl almost. So in order to remember, we take all of these things and we turn them around. Envy, celebrating myself and others with love and gratitude. Depression, joy, satisfaction, and happiness. See, everything just like a coin, it has both sides. Stupid, intelligent. Bills, which doesn't have to be a bad thing, depends. Assets and creature comforts. Low self-esteem, self-love and admiration. Debt, wealth, self-sufficiency, financial freedom, etc., etc. Abuser, nurturer. So we have to learn how to take the things, we have to flip the osobo and flip it to ide, because everything has its side. You can flip the coin at all times through iwapele and good character and playing the character best as you can, no matter what situation you find yourself in, whether it's a low situation or a high situation. Just, I did a video talking about live each day like you're making history. Like when somebody's gonna pour their libations out to you when you become an ancestor, what do you want them to say about you? And then we have abuse victim. Free to choose and empowered. You take it and you flip it. Broken, healed, and whole, etc., etc. Felon, innocent and liberated, clear conscience. So each of these can be taken and flipped. Lost, purpose. So everything they told us, we take it and we flip it to a positive. Numb, I just don't feel anything. Inspired and loving. Sickness, health. Wow, this really got wet. I have an old crystal ball in here that I use. I wanted to make the bag heavy because all of these were meant to represent a burden. That's why I tried to make the bag as heavy as I could with the crystal ball. So all of those things are heavy when we have them turned to the dark side of what it represents. And the moral of the story of Ori Inu and our incarnations, or Atunwa, us coming back over and over again or being recast. Let me make sure I got all my points. Yeah.
That's what Atunwa means, coming back over.
Atunwa, reincarnation. The moral of the story is you are not your experiences. No matter what happened, whether it's a rape, whether it's parental abandonment, whether it's abuse, heartbreak, whatever it is, you are not your experiences. Whatever he experienced in this movie has nothing to really do with Eddie Murphy, Ori Inu, your inner self, which you are always connected to. You are not your experiences. You are not, I mean, your character represents, because who you are, you're going to do who you are. That represents your character. But the things that came upon you in your lifetime, you are not those experiences. They are tools to learn who you really are. So you have to push past those experiences and elevate higher into it. The next moral of the story is you are not your body. It's only a character you're playing. This is that's not Eddie Murphy's real body. That's Eddie Murphy underneath the body. There is no death. There is only going back to the casting agency until the next gig comes up.
Our soul group.
Well, soul group will be more of our spirit guides. That's who we're with in heaven. They say that just like cells in the body, that our souls are like clusters of light. And throughout lifetimes, our soulmates, which are not just always romantic, those are the people that usually come back with us. Say, for instance, let me turn this around this way. Angela Bassett usually plays in a lot of movies with this man named Lawrence Fishburne. They're in a lot of movies together. That would be an example of soul group or soulmate. That person is always coming back. So when you're in a movie and you get cast, your cast of characters that play the parts that interact with you, that will be an example of people who are in your soul group. Sometimes they're in your soul group or sometimes in the soul group near you, because depending on if they're temporary or permanent in your life. But the point is to always learn and always get experiences, because we can't experience anything by ourselves. Just like the Creator can't experience things by itself, it has to be broken into pieces. So say, for instance, say we're all in the same soul group. And this time I'm like, okay, I'm going to be verbally abusive to you this time because last time you were bullying me. So I got to show you how it feels like. So then we flip the script. And next time you're like, okay, so now I'm going to do it to you. So it's all about passing the baton so everybody gets the experience. So this wheel here keeps turning. Also, this life is real as an actor playing a part in a movie. Whenever you feel overwhelmed by life, never forget. It's just a movie. This is just a blip on the radar screen of creation. You can always consult with your Ori and your casting agents, who are your spirit guides and your ancestors and the Creator. because you can always go to them for guidance and assistance. And I already talked about the electricity bill. When you pass away, it's kind of like you're passing away out of the scene. So as long as there's electricity in this body, as long as the light is on up here in the head, you are here, you are present, and you are always connected to source. Okay, and that is Ori Inu and the concept of Ajala Mopin, the divine casting agency.
Okay. Are we all kind of sort of understanding what Ori is, right? We have to also understand that for those of us that have, you know, are into a particular religious practice or spiritual faith, tradition, we have to really understand how important Ori is. Because, for example, Ori, which lives in our head, and whether we practice this tradition or not, you know, our head is our most important aspect of our body. You know, we can see somebody, you know, unfortunately, you know, lamed or you know, missing foot or missing, but you don't get. I hope nobody's seen anybody walking around without a head. 'Cause that'd be dangerous. You know, you haven't seen anybody walking around without a head. So our head is the most important. But what I want us to understand about Ori, not only as, you know, from a secular point of view or religious or traditional or what have you, is the fact that once we decide consciously to walk into a particular tradition, Ori already existed. And this goes back to our previous class about taking a deeper approach into acknowledging the Creator, right? Well, now Spirit is teaching us that as we should acknowledge the Creator before we acknowledge anything else, we have to now also acknowledge Ori. We have to acknowledge our Ori before further on. There's a chain of command. There's a chain of command, and a lot of our ups and downs and trials and tribulations is because we're stepping over the chain of command. We're stepping over authorities, and that's why we're not getting the connection. We're not getting answers. We're not finding our purpose. We're not discovering ourselves. We're not living in harmony because we are jumping, grabbing the first thing that we can grab, reaching for the first thing that we see, you know, and whatever it is that our energy or our ego that particular day gravitates to, that's what we do because that's what we were taught, that's what how we were reared. And we get to learn now that there is an order, okay? And if you're not into the Lukumi tradition, if you're not into the Yoruba tradition, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to be. This is not, you know, only privy to people that practice the tradition. This is privy to everybody. Because we are all connected to the divine. Again, like a broken record, I gotta review myself. Whether I call it Olofin or Nsambi, whether you call it Allah, somebody else calls it Shoah, Jesus, somebody else calls it, you know, Brahma. Whoever it is, your creator, that creator has a chain of command. And what Ori teaches us is that Ori came before anything else, after the creator. After the Creator, already came before anything else. And we do everything and anything but recognize and validate and acknowledge our Ori. We don't acknowledge our Ori. And it is important to understand this, those of us that are Ori, because if Ori was not important, we wouldn't have to do head blessings. We wouldn't have to do head blessings if Ori wasn't important. You know, if anything and everything could be resolved by the candle that we light, by the prayer that we say, by the chicken that we offer, by the flowers that we cleanse with, we wouldn't have to go to Ori because that's where it's all there. The base, the foundation, the root, the foundation of everything is there.
Or we wouldn't have to initiate.
Or we wouldn't have to initiate. You know? So everything is there. So how is it that, you know, we fail to miss, and we were unfortunately not taught that before we reach out to the leaves, we gotta go to the trunk. And Ori is part of that trunk that we don't, because we weren't taught until today, or because it wasn't part of our upbringing, like it wasn't part of mine, or whether because we simply don't know that there is a structure and there is a step-by-step method, to live in the madness that we live in this society, to have and be able to obtain better answers, we are able to walk further into the fullness of our destiny, etc., etc. So, what's next in our
vision table?
Okay. I'm gonna hand it to Anola for the vision table.
Can I ask a question
Yeah.
before? Okay, so you know how you explained the rungs and Ori and everything, and so if we want to become more aware, number one, we're acknowledging. Number two, we're watching our Olubobobotiribo, right? We are watching our tongue so that we can be in that open cup, right? Where does Ori Inu, because he explained it as characteristics and who we are, the role that we play, but we all go to that divine self. So this is just about staying conscious of what role we're playing and playing it the best as possible.
Yeah, that we're really Ori Inu.
Okay.
Yeah, that we're really Ori Inu, but also realizing that even though we're playing a character, we still play it with the best ability we can, so that the creator can experience itself through our Ori Inu. That's why there are so many of us here, because that's the creator experiencing itself through many different avenues. Like, say for instance, the Orishas, they have different paths or avatars. They have Yemaya who's close to the sweet water, Yemaya who's more of a warrior. So we are just avatars of the creator. That's all we really are. And the avatars are Ori Inu.
And as an initiate, it is just staying conscious, acknowledging, and doing a bow and doing, yes.
Yes, and more to that we're going to get into in a minute, as to how we are to acknowledge Ori and things that we can do to acknowledge Ori and things of that nature. We'll get into that in a minute, and it's definitely more information in the booklet that is for purchase at the end of the class. What else?
Okay, so we're discussing a vision table, which does not have to be a table. It can be an exercise that you do to your head, because often we get so fascinated with the spirit world. We get fascinated with our guides. We get fascinated with the Orisha, and we treat them better than we treat ourselves. But we have to remember that Ori, there's a saying in the Yoruba tradition that goes that your Ori is the one that accompanies you all throughout everything. And it's like we'll treat everything outside of ourselves. There's nothing outside of ourselves, but we treat everything that we think is outside of ourselves better than we treat ourselves. So this is just, you know how they have vision boards. This is a way to honor yourself and remember your own head. You can simply, I don't really like this color white because it reminds me of a boveda, but you can take a table. You will kind of call it, I wouldn't say an altar to yourself, I would say once again a vision table. And you can take this picture of yourself, put it in a beautiful picture frame. Get a cloth that you like that's your favorite color. I would like something like pink or something unicorn looking. I wouldn't use white because this looks just too ancestral to me. Now, Afimaya says if you have a picture of yourself, you're not supposed to put flowers and candles near those pictures because it's like you're treating yourself like an egun or a spirit guide. So you wouldn't have a candle on that altar. I'll show you what to do with the candle in a minute if you decide to do this. Now, if you live in a dorm room or you're a student or you have privacy issues, you can take a dresser drawer, pull it out, empty it, clean it, and you can set your table there. So, as far as the water goes, you would set your glass of water on top of that dresser that you put it in. And you would put your, you can use a plant. So, say for instance, if you're doing the vision table without the candle and without the flowers, you would simply put a plant there, a live plant, not a plastic plant. You would put a positive affirmation. This way your head is going to be facing east with your beautiful cloth that you like, that gives you a good feeling. Once again, you would put your positive affirmations, the things that you want to happen in your life. You will put a clear quartz crystal for clarity on this side of your vision table. It's facing east. This part, the clear quartz crystal will be facing north, which is on your left side of the vision table. Your plant is on the south side of the vision table. Your affirmations are on the south side, and I'll explain why in a minute. And then you can do some incense in the back. And you want a tall glass of water over your pitcher, because remember we talked about my cup runneth over? You want a glass of water that's tall enough to, as if it was spilling out. And if you don't want to use a glass of water, you can use a water fountain, because it's always flowing. It's like ideas and good things today is always flowing to the top of your head over this picture. And you can take something called Ori butter, and you can anoint your head with it each day as you meditate for about 8 to about 16 minutes at your Ori table. And also on this table, you will put pictures of your loved ones and everything you want to experience in this life. You can put pictures from magazines, you can put images, anything you want to attract, whether it be money, whatever it is, whether it be a home, whether it be a car, whether it be some type of success, you can put that on the left side of your vision table. The reason why it's positioned in a certain way is because your left side is where you receive things. You put the clear quartz on the left side of your head because you want to receive clarity. Clear quartz crystal for mental clarity, because the Ori represents clarity and being able to see and perceive things. The cup behind you, this represents Eshuni Pakuo, and also you being able to get the water to spill over onto you. Not literally, but metaphorically speaking, that things are flowing to you always, and the cup is always turned up and full. Then you have these, your plant or your flowers that will be on your right side, because you want things to bloom in your life. You're receiving, and then this is what you're giving to life. So life is not just a good thing that's happening to you. You are also a good thing that is happening to life. You are adding something to life. You are just distributing iwapele, no matter if you're poor, rich, whatever situation you're in, you're still being the best you can be. And that's represented by a green plant or a flower. And your positive affirmations are the things that you want to manifest. This is the side you receive on, your left side. The right side is the side you manifest on, and the side that you give things out on. And you can spray a little spray, so your favorite incense, whatever it is. But this table is to honor your own head. You can go there at least every day, every morning. Morning is better, or you can go every week and you can honor your head there. If you do not want to do a table at all, you can simply sit on the floor. I'm not going to sit back on the floor in these clothes. You're sitting there, and you're in the center. You're meditating in front of your candle, excuse me, and you have your glass of water behind your head. You have your plant on your right, and you have the things you want to manifest on your left, and your clear quartz crystal, and you sit in the middle of your circle, and you can meditate there to your own head. And there's certain things you can say that we're about to explain right now, certain things you can say, and you don't have to say it in Yoruba. Now, before you get out of the bed, we understand that life is purposeless without our destiny. Thank you. Before you get out of bed, you can honor the Creator by honoring your divine mailbox, and you place your hand on your head, and you can say, it doesn't have to be Yoruba, it can be, oh, I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm alive today. Even before your feet touch the floor, you would take your head like that, your hands to your head, and you would give thanks for your head. Thank you that I opened my eyes and I could see this morning. Thank you that I'm able to get out the bed. Thank you for another day. I'm going to play my character best as I can. Thank you, Orinu. Thank you, Olodumare, which we call the Creator. Thank you to my ancestors. You would thank your head first and foremost before you even speak to anybody and get out of the bed. And you can anoint your head with some Ori butter, which is just, it's shea butter with a mix of salt, efun, eucalyptus, etc., etc. And you can add your clear quartz crystal to your Ori butter in order to better clarify. You would anoint your head in the morning with the Ori butter. I'm not going to open that one because that's not mine. That's for somebody else. So you would take it, you would massage your third eye, you would give thanks to your third eye, you would give thanks to the top of your head, and then you would massage it back to the back of your neck, the Eshuni Pakuo, and you would give thanks to your head each day as you sit at your vision table. And you can say something such as, I'll say it in Yoruba and then I'll say it in English. Ori mikbemi, ori milami, bini atete niran, bimi atete benuku, ori ni be ni, ajawoki she ousa, which is simply saying, Ori support me, Ori make me prosperous. It is mankind's supporter, Ori is mankind's supporter before deities. Once again, Ori support me, Ori make me prosperous. Ori is humankind's supporter before the deities or the Orisha. Ori stimulates your luck. Ori helps overcome depression and identity crisis. Ori reminds us of our purpose, And Ori helps us to make better decisions. Because each day we get out of the bed in the morning, we are gonna make a mistake. That's part of it. It makes the movie interesting. If you saw a movie and nobody made a mistake, it'd be a boring movie. You're gonna do something. So the thing is to ask your Ori for daily wisdom and divine guidance so that you make a better decision for yourself. And you can imagine a silver infinity symbol over your head that's rotating to the left if you need to make a good decision. Or you can rotate it to the right if you want to give a good decision and be a good influence in this life. So as you meditate, you can use those tools for yourself. That's it. Vision table.
Okay. So, let's see. What is that?
Just tips. And that's it. More.
Okay. So, going back a little tiny bit, Mandel don't Ginger and everybody actually, but I want us that are going to also understand this. Ori, as I already said, it is something that didn't reach Cuba for whatever reason, until later on, very late in my opinion. But in Africa it's very well known, and in Brazil. Ori is also, I definitely have studied very much the Allan Kardec school of thought, or Espiritismo. The Kardecian spirituality teaches, in some kind of way, I've made some connections that Ori in spirituality would be our soul, when you really think about it. But not the soul of, or how it's defined in Merriam-Webster's dictionary. It's basically our past existence and the one previous to that and the one previous to that. Kardec also teaches that we choose to come back all the time that we choose to. We choose to come back every time that we need to, every time that we want to, we choose to come back. If you really wanted to not come back, we would make sure that everything that needed to be done in that last existence, our last carnal existence, we would basically meet all our requirements and pay all our dues and perfect, our ways so that we wouldn't have to come back. So we continuously come back by choice, and we continuously live out the characters, by choice. But ultimately, when you really think about it, well, in living out and representing to the best of our abilities Ori, so that we are in Iwapale standing, then that's really the ultimate goal of the Creator, for all to be in good Iwapale standing. But then, if that were the case, then if everything would be perfect, and there's no such thing, then the creation would stop, technically speaking. It would stop, technically speaking. So again, the common sense, there couldn't be good without bad, because of the time that bad totally stops, creation ceases to be. And the Creator wouldn't continue to re-experience itself to perfect and understand its creation, what it has created. So somebody is gonna always have to be the villain. Somebody is gonna always have to play that role in life. In order for creation to continue being, somebody will always have to play that role, okay? It's impossible for it not to be the case. And Ori is something that I have and will and am continuously getting more and more deeper into. I've been known about Ori a little tiny bit because we got people like, Willie Reynolds, who has been, educating and practicing and, Ori for a very long time. But it's not until now that I'm really diving deeper into the Ori pool, because it is about what I said, and this is not to sound repetitive. I just want this to really sink in our heads, the fact that there's a particular order for us to do things Because if we figure out what this order is, it will align us better, because that's what OD is. OD is the energy that helps us align ourselves to the Creator. It helps us align ourselves so that we are in perfect, and needless to say, there's nothing perfect, right? Perfect balance with the Creator. And that's OD's job, okay? There are many, many ways that we can honor OD and recognize OD. As Amola explained, there's many different ways that we can honor and acknowledge, because it's about honor, it's about acknowledgement. If we acknowledge OD, then that's good enough. That's good enough, because that's what it's supposed to be. There's also a Yoruba proverb that says that spirit cannot accept what our head won't take. Spirit cannot bless what our head can take. That's why we have to acknowledge OD to the best of our abilities, so that the things that we want, need, desire, trying to put into practice, is accepted and is blessed. If not, we keep running into stumbling. We keep stumbling. Okay. Sorry, it's not that. Spirit can't give you what the head won't accept. Okay. Spirit can't give you what the head won't accept. So spirit could be anything. It could be when we pray to Allah to, give us this, help us with this, or help us out with that. That would be a form of spirit, as well, the universe, spirit, God, whomever. But if our head won't accept it, then what we're trying to execute, even if we do it with passion and with our whole heart, it does not get anywhere. It does not go anywhere, because your head, and this is common sense in our tradition, your head has to accept it. Because if not, we wouldn't need to know, sí or no, we wouldn't, if it's not accepted, then we're running up against a wall. And how is it outside of our tradition? How is it that we run against a wall? When we go to everything, I'm going to go to OD. And our head, the OD is like, which is the extension of the divine Creator, is in our head like saying, are you going to include me in your plan? Are you going to include me in your ideas, desires, needs? Have you asked for my blessings too, since you're running to everything else that I created? Have you run into me first? So, and it's an order, and we have to try to keep that order. Keep in mind, because I am going to say this, keep in mind that many elders, many of the ones that I know and grew up close to, which I still respect and will always respect, because one thing has something to do with the other, they probably wouldn't embrace this thought, okay? They probably wouldn't embrace this thought, because we know that many elders are more about how things were handed down and given to them, And since it doesn't make it wrong, but it keeps us stumbling. It keeps us stumbling, because you could do something right. Doesn't make sense, but it makes sense. You could do something right all the time and not get results. You could do something right all the time and not get the results that you need. And I think that any human person at some point, after getting tired, stressed, pissed off, crazy, whatever, have to ask, why is this not working? If I have all the ingredients, if I'm doing it with my heart, if I'm doing it with respect, if I'm doing it how I was taught, how come it's not working? What's the missing link? What's the missing piece to the puzzle that is not allowing what I'm doing with the heart to have the effect that it needs? And I believe wholeheartedly, we know now that this is an extra part of the puzzle that's been hanging out there, and we've been oblivious to it, And I think that if we try to put it into practice, because nothing doesn't hurt to try and be consistent about it, I think if we try to put it into practice, number one, keep in mind that all these instant gratifications don't work. We want to do things today, and that just go. Even if we didn't know what Ori was, we want to do something today and see the effects in 24 hours and see it tomorrow. Those things don't work. It's not how it works. But if Spirit, God, Olofin, Allah, Jehovah, Brahma, whoever sees our consistency, which has been the number one broken word of the year by Spirit, consistency, okay? Being consistent. If Spirit sees our consistency, then eventually we can start seeing how easier, not perfect, but easier certain things start to become in our lives when we incorporate things that helps us fulfill the purpose of Ori. And the purpose of Ori is for us to be in divine alignment with the Creator. That's the whole real, at the root of it. That's really what it is. We're just, giving it to you the best way we can, how we've learned it, how we've studied it, how it was taught to us. But that's, at the end of the day, that's the true message of our class today. That's the essence of our class today, okay? Is the fact that Ori's purpose is to align us with the Most High.
It's like, we're like a Rubik's Cube oftentimes. We talked about, how people talk about follow your heart, follow your heart. Once again, like I put on the video, your heart doesn't have eyes. Your eyes are on your head. So you put something blind in the driver's seat, you're gonna probably crash. So the heart is important, it's very essential to us, the soul, the solar plexus, all of those chakras are important, but the head must always be in the driver's seat because the head is the one that can see, hear, and perceive everything. So the heart should be the co-pilot while the heart is the pilot, driving things forward. Because if our head, our heart and our feet are going in different directions, say for instance my head is going north, my heart is going east, my feet, which are my actions and my decisions, are going south, I'm all like a twisted Rubik's Cube. So everything has to come into alignment in one direction. So if I'm stuck at the crossroads and I don't know where to go, north, south, east, or west, I have to make sure that what I'm thinking, what I'm planning, what I'm perceiving from Spirit, the wisdom of my own head, and my feelings and my emotions and my actions are all lined up with what I say I want to do. Say for instance, if somebody is in an unhappy job and they're not fulfilled with it, in their head they're like, okay, I gotta pay these bills, so I need to stay there. In their heart, they're like, oh my God, I really want to go. But in their feet, they're still there. Something is out of alignment, so that's an imbalance. So say for instance, that person wants to leave that job. What they would do with their head, they will start planning. They will start planning, they will start looking for other job opportunities. They would start planning for a side hustle until that side hustle feeds them. That's the head part. Their heart is there. What they're doing is, in their spare time, they're putting their passion into what they really want to do. And in their feet, they're taking action. They're taking courses. They're meeting people who are doing the things they want to do. And that's how head, heart, and feet come into alignment so that we're out the crossroads. Because Eshu is like the divine game show host. He's just like Bob Barker. What's behind door number 1? What's behind door number 2? What's behind door number 3? What's behind door number 4? Ta-da! That's his job. That's what the Creator gave him to do. So it's not so much he's the trickster. We trick ourselves when we're out of alignment. All he's doing is presenting us options. What's behind door number 1 could be great. What's behind door number 2 could be great. What's behind door number 3? It may look enticing, but that could be the main door that has the roaring lion in it that just destroys us. So it's a matter of us being in alignment. So when he presents the door, we're the one that makes the choice. Eshu does not make the choice for us. He's just the game show host. He's the witty one. He's the one that lets you win. Whether you win or lose, that's up to you. He's not making you win or lose. We're the one that wins or loses. He's just showing us what's on the table. Here it is. Which you want to choose? You want that one? You sure you want that one? That is his job. Yes.
How does Ori relate to like gratitude? You know how like when you get up and give thanks for the things in your life? Like,
it's you're honoring yourself. It's that energy that you're vibrating. Remember we talked about like the strand, like we're all like a strand of hair on the Creator's head. It's like when you vibrate that up, it's gonna flow back down to you. Because remember, what you send back up, it has to come back down. What goes up must come down. So it's in a never-ending cycle, a never-ending cycle. If I send good things up, good things are gonna flow back to me. If I send up bad thoughts, that's what's gonna flow back to me. If I send out bad thoughts to somebody else, that's what's gonna flow over my head. So we always get what we put out. Because Eshune Pakuo, he's always sending the messages back up. The game show host, he's always, thinking this, thinking that. It goes back up, it comes back down. It goes back up, it comes back down. It's like a never-ending cycle because everything is cyclical.
Are you saying it also because you may be, you try in your daily life to always give thanks to the things that you do, so you're trying to see how you can connect that to Ori,
It's
right?
vibration, what you're vibrating.
It's vibration, but to further expand on that, you know, you are showing gratitude maybe to God or the Creator, and that's perfectly fine. But, you know, Ori is our inner self, that is our inner spirit that represents God, you know, and it doesn't like to be ignored, really basically. To put it in that way, that's really what it is. He does not like to be ignored. Whatever is that energy, that spirit, that force that was divinely passed to you does not like to be ignored. Just like you wouldn't go into a room with a person sitting there, some people do, they're not polite, but you know, you wouldn't walk by somebody and not say hi, or say good afternoon, or say good morning. So we wake up, we say those of us that do, and I do it every single day, you know. And you know, your spirit guide, you know, your spirit, you know, your Ori might say, and what about me? You know, you giving thanks to me? You know, I'm the one you showed since before you were even conceived, before you even learned how to say thank you, God. I'm the one that's been walking with you since day number one. And I may not want to come back in the next lifetime, so you better acknowledge me now, you know. So that's part of that as well.
Would you consider the same being said for Ashe? Like to give thanks? Like is that a separate where you would be thankful in this place of gratitude where you're all giving thanks, you know, to Olofi, to Olodumare, and now you're giving thanks to your Ori, do you give thanks to your Ashe? Like is that relevant, the same? Do you see it the same?
It is.
Because what Ori is Ashe, it's love. Everything is love, and even fear is the flip side of that. So vibrating that is exactly what we get back.
Because like our Ashe is like chi, right?
Yeah,
it's all
yeah.
energy. So if we're thankful for the energy that we're moving, then we're supplementing or being in gratitude.
Yes, absolutely. It's just chi.
Can I say a quote that really helps me get the concept of the heart and the mind? She told me one time that fire, passion, and vision are created in the heart but navigated through the mind. So it really helps me connect the points because you know how you said everything that you know we want or this and that, but it all comes back to the head.
It all comes back in this process through the head. Even when we think when we're I'm so in love and this and we're excited, the dopamine, the serotonin is in the head. Even what we experience in our heart, it gets processed through the head. Those chemicals going in, everything is through the head. Because without it, there's no flow downward.
I do have a question for you as far as your opinion. Like I'm sitting here having like these little epiphanies. Would you, understanding that Ori is the antenna, like right, our personal antenna or connection, would you equate it to the crown chakra?
Definitely.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
The power of manifestation, if we can get attuned to the self-power of the crown chakra, that's amazing.
Yes, that's the crown chakra.
Okay.
Definitely. I forgot to even
Yes.
talk about
People
chakras
don't
in
use
this
it
class. Oh my
because
God.
it's not taught. The crown chakra energy is not taught the way that, you know, every chakra is important for our personal alignment, right? Our third eye, our EYU and everything else, right? Our heart. But to understand the crown separately, like in the concept of Ori, and to be thankful and to use it, to balance it, to strengthen your divine connection, like that's a big deal.
And I also, you know, just as a teacher, because there will be another class coming strictly, specifically about Espiritismo, you know, practicing Espiritismo, not just developing one's own, we do that at the first part of every month, but, you know, actually the concept of where's it come from, why, how it came into existence, why is it that we're able to, you know, see things, sense things, feel things, how is it that we keep opening that channel? My point with that is, because I'm not going to get into the explanation of that because I will be in that class, but Ori has been so present in our everyday lives and we're the only ones that didn't know about it. right?
Yeah.
We're the only ones that didn't know about it. God has been present in our lives in many different ways, in all the things that we practice, even in the traditional, in the Orisha tradition, in the Lukumi, diaspora, even in Espiritismo. Because those of you and everybody in here those of you that come to misas, to seance, once we do the prayers, once we're done with the prayers and acknowledging the Creator, what do?
We give thanks.
No, what do? Right? And no one knows. People think that we're just cleansing ourselves there because that's part of the process, it's part of the protocol, that we need to cleanse ourselves, and everybody will probably define it as we're just cleansing any negative vibrations that we have, which is true, that is also part of it. We're cleansing our negative vibrations off and things of that nature. In that class about, Espiritismo and protocols and things of that nature, I will teach what the significance is of putting your hands in this water to cleanse ourselves, which we all do it wrong. There's a specific way to do it. And it's not just about the snapping fingers, because not all of our fingers are snappable, if that's even a word. That's even a word. But it's not about the snapping the finger, it's about the action of it. And then the action of cleansing yourself, Ori is there. Ori is there.
I have a question though. Those of us that have been baptized in the church, when they pour the holy water on the head, they're also cleansing. They're acknowledging Ori, or do they not know what they're doing, or is it maybe some of those secrets that they have that they know?
I'm almost sure that they know something of it, okay?
They may not call it that.
They may not call it that,
Right.
but they know,
Right.
because they don't pour it on our feet,
No.
They don't pour it. No, it sounds funny, but it is the truth. They don't pour it in our feet, and they don't pour it in our belly button, because if we really want to think about, life is right here.
Right.
Life is right here. This is where we got fed through, throughout the umbilical cord, that attached us to our mothers. We got fed through that. How is it that this is not important? And actually, it is. That's another class. You just give me an idea right there. But yeah, go ahead.
It's tied to exactly what you're talking about right now. So it was new to me to know that this was a part of the Ori, or aspect of Ori. You were mentioning the spine issue, how the messages and information is transmitted. I like the neuroscience part of it. And that this is the Ori, it has all the neurons, it's receiving all of the information and transmitting it. The way I always thought it was like the Ori Inu is the
stomach.
the gut.
Yeah, that's
or
what
the
they're
womb.
saying.
So that's very interesting, and I'm seeing a correlation between your last class of the cleansing, that has to be an aspect of our cleansing in connection with our Ori and manifesting our destiny. So
But,
it's interesting.
And then when they say Ori Inu also means like the inner inner stomach, or the inner cell. You know how they say Ori, what is it? Inuaye? The stomach of the earth, the inside.
Right.
So it's our inner self. It's connected to the solar plexus, but everything once again it vibrates up, because they say the heart. What you telling me the other day? The heart is formed in a baby's body even before the brain is, supposedly, but yet it's still, even though it comes first, it's the head that makes the final decision.
The gut is the second brain. It has like a lot of neurons.
Yes.
So it's very interesting.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And another thing, some other points I wanted to add, as far as like it's called a self-love hack. As long as we remember that no matter what we've done, we may feel guilty about or may not be so proud of, if we remember that we are this and we are not these, we can always go back to loving ourselves. Because if we're loving our ancestors, our guides, the Orishas, God, Olodumare, which is all within us, but we're neglecting our own heads, we're neglecting to take care of ourselves, then we're neglecting the major part. Because like I say, if you can't love yourself, you can't love somebody else. So honoring the head is a form of self-love. And remember, no matter what I've done, no matter who I think I am, no matter what I don't like about myself, I'm still this at the end of the day, which is a piece of the Creator having a human experience, always connected to the bigger head, the divine head.
I have a question real quick. Is that why when we're born we have that soft spot
On the head, and they say we
Yes.
pass away, we go up to our head.
all the
Yes.
time with
Yes.
the baby, and it's like soft
Yes.
spot right there.
Yes,
Yes, indeed.
exactly.
So that's your ori.
Exactly. That's the
Yes,
ori.
indeed.
That's how we
Yes,
leave, and
indeed.
that's where we enter, and it's sensitive until we're really acclimated to
Yes,
this life.
it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
And then something else I wanted to add, because I got an email from somebody asking, okay, I want to hurt and I want to be a priestess and this and that. How do I do that? How do I do that? Well, let me tell you from an Aleo Aborisha perspective. The head is the foundation of the crown. If you give yourself some good head, no pun intended. If you give yourself a good head, if you live in Iwakale, if you live in alignment with what you were born to do, you will be an even better priestess or priest. Because the head is the foundation of the crown. The head can either dishonor a crown or it can honor the crown. They have some good priests out there, they have some bad priests out there. Just as being the president did not make Donald Trump a better person. I'm nothing against anybody. I'm not even talking politics. Just as whoever Donald Trump was before he made president, that's the same person he is. Whoever the person you are before you get crowned, that's the person you are. So it's about developing a good foundation, because the crown is only an accessory to the head. It's the base of the head that is more important. So before you go any further, take time to develop with your ancestors, your guides, and your own head, and being in alignment, and you will have a better result when you come out and you go into the Ikbodu, or the what do you call it? The shrine area to receive your crown, to the Orisha that is ordained to you, who you also chose in Ajala, the casting agency, before you got here. The head is the foundation of the crown.
Any other questions? Anybody online has anything to say or want to question? Okay. Feel free to chime in.
No questions? Are they muted?
No, nothing. There's nothing from our end. No.
Another thing is, us sisters, we like to wear some extra hair accessories on our head. You know, we like that human hair and stuff. But we have to remember, hair is powerful. It's energy. We have to make sure, did they get this hair off of a dead body? Did they get this hair off of somebody who has a different destiny than us? So if you're going to wear extensions and things like that, make sure you cleanse your extensions, sage them, do something to it, give it some spray or some type of bath before you put that on your head, because everything you put on your head is important. You can change your look just by putting somebody else's hair on your head or wearing their hat. That's why you should not wear other people's hats. It's like you trading destinies with them. You should not wear other people's shoes, because you're walking in their experiences. It may sound superstitious, but it's an energy exchange. People think that sex is the only way to exchange energy with someone, but we're always exchanging energy and picking up people's energy, so we must honor our head by being careful of what we do.
Always.
And before we close, in the workbook, there's something called a reinventing yourself, or rewriting the script of your life journaling exercise. And it goes back to the whole point of the idea of you being an actor in a movie in your life. So if things are not going the way you want it to go, or you just want to enhance something that's already going well, you can ask yourself some of the following questions. If my life were a movie, what would the title of my movie be? What would the title be?
Crashing Down with Joe Minnesota.
And number 2, what would the theme or genre of my ideal life or movie be? Would it be an action movie? Would it be romance? Would it be a comedy? Would it be a documentary? Would it be a drama? What type of movie would your life be? What type of character would I be? Asking this question, like say for instance, if you were writing a movie, who would you be in the movie? What type of person would that character be? What would it like? What would it dislike? The next question is, who would my supporting actors, my allies be? Who would my team members be? Or what type of people will be my supporting actors? And if you don't have those people in your life, you can call those people into your life and attract them into your life in your vision table exercise through saying, I want people I can trust. I want people who will reciprocate the good I put out to them. I want somebody that will love me back in the same amount. Because you may be attracting people where you're giving a cup of your love, you're giving a tub of your love, and they're only giving a cup. You may say, I want somebody to match my heart capacity, etc., etc., etc. And we're not just talking romance, we're talking friendships, what type of team members you want in your life, family, surrogate family. You can all put that there. Business partners. And then you say, what type of characters would be my antagonists? Because it's got to be an antagonist. That means, what type of people would you bump heads with and dislike? Would it be people who abuse children? Would it be people who abuse the planet? These exercises are all about remembering who you are so that you can understand your purpose in this life. Because what you like, what you don't like, the type of people you like, it's all a reflection of who you really are and the character that you are playing in this life and your purpose. And number 6, what type of injustice, personal or impersonal, would I work to conquer? Because every hero or every protagonist has to have a plot and a purpose. That means, what would you be working on in this life? What do you see in life that annoys you? Does it annoy you when you see trash on the beach? Does it annoy you when you see abused women? Whatever that is, that's giving you clues to purpose if you are lost at the crossroads and can't figure out which way you want to go. And then, what will my most powerful tool be? What is it? Superman has his cape. Thor has his double-edged sword like Shango, Mjolnir. So what would your tool be? Would it be the pen to write things? Would it be the microphone to sing songs? What would your tool be if you were casting your own movie for your life? The next thing is, what do you want to be known for? If you're not in the room and people are talking about you, and no matter if they're talking about you in this house or that house over there, what would you want the consistent thing to be said about who you are? That is all about iwapele, good character. So doing these type of exercises and meditating on them not every day, but whenever you get a chance, and editing it year after year, it can bring you into alignment with why you're here, what you want to do, and give you your purpose so that you can shoot forward with effectiveness. So that is all I have to add. Thank you all for joining us. The Ori book is available. We have it in print. You can email me for that. It won't be available until tomorrow. Shipments will go out tomorrow if you've ordered already. And we also have it in the ebook version. It's a book that's just full of different journaling exercises, all into talking about like your relationship with your parents or things that happened in your childhood. And we still have the Connecting with Lives and Goals series available in the form of ebook and videos 1, 2, and 3. Thank you all for joining us. I pray for peace and bliss for each and every one of you here. And once again, happy hunting and finding your Ori and being connected
Thank you.
or discovering.
Let's write this down, please. If you can't see online, the first line is Orinu, O-R-I-N-U. Second line is Emi, E-M-I. Second word is Gua, G-U-A. Third word is Aye, A-Y-E. Third line is Fumi, F as in Frank, U, M as in mother, I. Second word is I-R-E, Ide. Third line, Emi, E-M-I. Odara, O-D-A-R-A. And Ashe, A-S-H-E. Everybody over here got it? You all are fast. Gee. So, as we close.
We have the Ori butter available too, the anointing oil, which has a free crystal in it.
So let's join. Join hands. So repeat after me. Orinu.
Orinu.
Emi.
Emi.
Gua.
Gua.
Aye.
Aye.
Fumi.
Fumi.
Ire.
Ire.
Emi.
Emi.
Odara.
Odara.
Ashe.
Ashe.
So repeat after me. We're going to go line by line in my tone. This is a song to Ori, okay, that I'm going to share with you all today. So the first line, we'll break it by parts so we know the pitch that we're supposed to be on, and then we'll sing it the full song. Orinu.
Orinu.
Emi.
Emi.
Wa.
Wa.
Aye.
Aye.
Fumi.
Fumi.
Ire.
Ire.
Emi.
Emi.
Odara.
Odara.
Ache.
Ashe.
So it would be Orinu. Ache. Together. Orinu Eniwaye Fumire Emiodarache. So we're recognizing Ori, Orino, our inner being, our inner spirit. Emi is me, us, we, in this case. Wa is the African word for to come or to give me, okay? Aye, it means earth, means the world, okay? Fumi means to give, ire, blessings, and emi odara ashe, may we live, may we be grounded in this earth with ashe. With whom? Orino's blessings. With Ori's blessings. Ultimately with the divine's blessing. Okay? Orino Emi Waye Fumire Emi Odarache. One more time. Orino Emi Waye Fumire Emi Odarache. May the blessings of the Most High, may the blessings of our ancestors, as we opened this workshop and this session with them, we will close it and continue with them as well. May walking out of here, we are walking into the fullness of our destiny in health and stability and growth, both personally, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, energetically, and physically, because if we don't take care of our physical body, we won't be able to reach any of our purpose in life. And may we be blessed in each and every step of the way with the blessings of Ori, Orinu, and Olofin Oloru, Olodumare. Ache, 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 Ache. Thank you all.
Thank you, live streamers.
Thank you all.